Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I call to order the GCC regular board meeting, June 6, 2023, 4:45 p.m. Welcome, everyone. So good to see you. Roll call. Mr. Mark Anderson.
Absent.
Mr. Harry Block.
Here.
Mr. Bruce Mandrick.
Here.
Mr. Jack Turner.
Here.
It's Lily Campbell present. All board members present except one absent. So we have a full four-member board today. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. Gee, it's so good to look out and see so many wonderful faces. Thank you so much for being here. Cabinet, staff, we're glad to see you. And to those who are watching us virtually, welcome. We're glad you're with us also. So with that, we will continue with our board meeting. Do we have public comments?
There's no public comments.
No public comments today. And so with that, we move right into the superintendent's update. Are you ready, sir?
I am. Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon, board members, and to everyone that's here. Let me just collectively say we have successfully concluded yet another successful academic year, and I want to affirm all of our staff for their hard work and commitment throughout the year. So,
Thank you.
this has been obviously a very unique year for us. In addition to all the work that they've done, we've been transitioning the organization. And so extremely proud of the work that we have done from the board level all the way through. So just want to collectively affirm our entire team. So thank you. We had our promotions and graduations, and you'll see a couple of pictures up there. I won't talk much about this. I'm quite sure the board will have a chance, but I have the pleasure of attending multiple events over the past 2 weeks. It really has been a privilege to witness the remarkable work of our students, as well as the remarkable achievements and the work that our staff put together to make these some really special events. I definitely want to take this opportunity to affirm our staff for their outstanding work, as well as our board. Thank you, Madam President, and Mr. Block and Mr. Anderson for attending a number of those events and graduations. And again, I'll leave some of that for each of you to talk about tonight. I know how to maneuver. Summer school. So the summer school session has started with a number of our schools, which means some of our summer programs actually began this week. And while others will start next week, our summer programs this year will focus again on academic intervention. Some of will be looking at credit recovery, and then some will just be looking at enrichment and keeping our students engaged during the summer while we utilize our ELOP funds. So just a little bit in the area of student and school highlights, I like to kind of kick off with that. So a few weeks ago, I shared with you that Gina Miles, a former student at CCCS, was competing on the singing competition, The Voice. Well, I'm proud to say that the season finale aired on May the 23rd, and Gina won the entire competition. So very proud of her representing the GCC and CCCS community out there. And Director, John Campbell. I know he's working on something. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but
Will they bring her here one night?
She actually is not quite looking for notoriety just yet, and so but we're going to keep saying that.
CCS.
so
I saw the end of it, but I sure didn't realize she was from CCS. It
So-
makes it even more special.
very proud of that. So also we concluded our GCC Maker Challenge. Want to affirm Director Tukoi for her work in leadership and our Maker Challenge across the GCC. For those who are not familiar, the challenge gives students the opportunity to identify a real world problem and develop innovative solutions to resolve the problem. And I want to congratulate all of our participants for their hard work. There is a video that I'll share with the board of a young lady who made basically a robot machine that would take care of pollution. So it's really innovative and very proud of her. And I'll be sending that link to the board at a later date after this so you can watch it. I also want to acknowledge we have some additional teachers who were nominated for the Sacramento County Teacher of the Year. We have Mr. Kevin Hansen from Gateway International School, our PE teacher there. And then we have Mr. James Stoops from Saba, longtime teacher there. And of course, you remember last board meeting, we talked about Emily Armetta from COA Middle School. So very proud of all of these teachers who are representing all of our teachers in this wonderful opportunity. So just closing out with a few things. On the 19th, we did hold our all GCC end of year celebration. And I just have to publicly take this opportunity to affirm both Melissa DeMarco and Lydia J, and as well as every other staff member who really put a lot of work into an event for over 700 people.
Yes.
So if you'll just do me a favor and just take a moment and give Melissa and Lydia Thank you, Melissa. Myself and our CPO, Omira Reyna, have been attending workshops on the governor's May revise of the budget. And so she'll share a little bit of that information later on in our study session. Our admin, our principals know that right now we are deep in the what we call ROPE, our reflections on administrative practices. Our evaluations are now happening for each of our principals and cabinet staff. So definitely enjoying those conversations as we reflect on the work that we've accomplished or that they have accomplished this year. I also want to recognize we are concluding our first year or our planning year of our community schools grant. And I want to affirm Dr. Erin Marston. I thought she was in here. Oh, there she is. Dr. Erin Marston, who has really led that effort by creating our steering committee, as well as beginning to engage each of our school sites in the conversation about how do we become more ingrained and entrenched in our communities so that we're not seen as separate of the communities, but we're seen as all together. So I just want to affirm Dr. Marston for her work with our community schools grant. So finally, we have a few exciting upcoming things on Monday, June the 12th, and I will look over there to Mr. Elliott to kind of help me fill in the blanks of this. Our Saba students will be showcased at the EV Lowrider project will be showcased at the
Electric Vehicle Symposium and Expo taking place at the Convention Center this coming weekend. And it is a worldwide symposium. This is the one that was in Norway last year, happened to be in Sacramento this year. So it's quite an opportunity for our students in school.
That's great.
So we're extremely proud of our Saba students and the work that they've done on the EV Lowrider. They actually created a press release and a social media page, and I got a chance to go on there earlier today and look at it and really impressed with it. So finally, we are deep at work. Believe it or not, we're planning for next school year. So the cabinet team, we've had a number of meetings. Yesterday had a 4-hour-long meeting. They're probably pulling their hair out because I'm making them meet a lot. Sorry about that team. But we are planning our admin retreat for administrators, which is scheduled for June the 15th. And then our executive cabinet will be getting together for a one-day retreat on June the 22nd. Again, just to kind of talk about where we're going, and we look forward to sharing more of that with the board as we continue our development and growth. And with that being said, Madam President, that is my report.
Well, thank you so much, sir. Board members, any comments, any questions? Hearing none, seeing none, thank you so much. And I will kind of piggyback a little bit on the graduation activities that we participated in last week. And again, thank all of you for your hard work, everything you're doing. That's in his report. Thank you. And so with that, we shall move on to our study session. And the first is Empowering Possibilities in a National Charter, EPIC. Annual school report. Would you like to bring them in?
I would. So we're really excited tonight and welcome Dr. Jerry Kosh,
And he's back with us.
principal for EPIC, or Empowering Possibilities International Charter. And I will tell you, and I'm not going to steal his thunder, but Dr. Kosh has done a great job over the year, just really rebuilding enrollment and things like that in the school. And so I'm proud of the work that he and his team is doing at EPIC, and really looking forward to hearing their report tonight. So Dr. Kosh.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Silva. It's great to be back. So Board President Campbell, board members, Mr. Sample, cabinet guests, good, I think we're on the border of afternoon and evening, so I think it's afternoon still, but I'm Jerry Koch, I'm the principal of Epic. And I love this day. I love doing the year-end presentation to share all of the great things that happened at Epic with you, because there's so many. And before we get started, I would like to introduce our wonderful site administrator, Ms. Nina Samaria, who's going to be a part of our presentation tonight. And we're going to alternate slides. But before we get started, as Mr. Sample said, I'm returning from a 7-week leave, and I'm feeling great, like a new person. And I wouldn't be feeling as great if it wasn't for the wonderful job that Miss Nina did running Epic in the 7 weeks that I was gone. With the help of our instructional coach, Mr. Hancock, who couldn't be here tonight. So I just wanted to take a minute to publicly affirm you, Nina, for your leadership during my absence, and keep Epic continuing on with excellence. So thank you very much. And with that said, we will get into our presentation, and we will start with good things, of course, which is one of my favorite parts. And so our first good thing is that Epic has been honored with being a Capturing Kids' Hearts National Showcase School for the 5th time. It's hard to believe it's been 5 years, but it's a testament to our outstanding implementation and the survey results on our Showcase School surveys. One of the great reasons CKH is still alive at Epic is our process champions. You see a picture here of Mr. Hancock doing some PE with our staff, and our kindergartners are so advanced that they are sharing a social contract with Yolo County board members here. Here you see Shelton Yip in a picture with the kindergartner. One of the greatest things to announce is that Epic worked hard to achieve its school-wide goals, and we were fortunate to exit every kind of comprehensive school improvement. And we're one of the few schools that actually exited in the state. This was a huge year where many schools entered. So it is a huge thing to accomplish. That means that we improved in all of our dashboard indicators to do that. So it's just something that we celebrate and we're very proud of. And another great thing is our enrollment has rebounded. We were down we reached a low time during COVID-19. We were down to 330 plus students. And then we rebounded over the last 2 years we're back up to 394 now. So we're approaching that 400 limit. I know Epic has been at 400 before, but I'm really excited because I'm guessing we're gonna hit, into the 420s. So enrollment's booming at Epic. And also you see a picture here of some food service. We responded to the needs of our community, and where food was a priority. And with the support of Gateway Community Charters and O'Meara and Dr. Cropper, we were able to bring improved food to our students. Nice hot lunches and a variety of good stuff. So excellent. Moving on to student achievement, one of my favorite things to talk about. So here we see some graphs from CDE and a graph that I created, a chart that I'll refer to as I go through my slides. But as I said, Epic exited CSI due to improved dashboard indicators. And those are things like chronic absenteeism, suspension rate, the academic indicators, English learner achievement, and such. And they took CASP for the first time since 2019, right? So this was a big year for CASP. It gave us a chance to look at the learning loss that took place over COVID. And so you see our scores here. These are the first graph you see is our overall scores. And it looks like we're 36% proficient in English language arts and 33 in math. And what's nice is the math data. If you look at that chart, it will show the learning loss. Although Epic had a little bit of learning loss, it shows all of our math work paid off. As you see, Epic is at the state average in math, which is a pretty big accomplishment, especially considering the large number of newcomers who took CASP in their first year in America. That was included in the scores. So, Epic scores are probably even better than this, I would imagine. And then looking at the language arts data, it's kind of interesting because you'll notice that our English learners actually made gains on during COVID in English language arts. And you'd say, how did that happen? Just lots of different things. They add technology and use Success Maker and things on their own. But anyway, that's a whole nother slide when we get into ELB. But some of the data that I'm the most proud of that shows you how excellent Epic truly is when you look at their English learner data, which composes about 70% of our students. You'll see Epic is at 24% proficient in ELA and 19 in math. If you look at the state average is 12%. We're double in both with the state. You look at Washington Unified, we're blowing Washington Unified away with our data as well. And you look at 2 Washington Unified schools here in Bridgeway Island and Riverbank. Epic is far and beyond, in student achievement in English language arts. So I'd imagine this data is probably among some of the top data in the state for English learners, I would imagine. So it's something that we're really proud of. And I want to affirm we wouldn't be able to exit CSI without support of all the departments, ed services, HR, business, social services, the superintendent's office. It was truly a team effort. And I want to affirm our teachers and paras. I'll go into ELD in a future slide, but just without their great work and the commitment, and you'll be pretty impressed when I tell you everything we're doing for English learners. But it's the staff that makes the difference. So and that goes from our custodians all the way up to the principal. So that's student achievement. Going on to the next slide, we use iReady, and the bottom line with iReady is. Well, first of all, it's a good measure because 95% of our students use it. And you'll notice that green is good and red is bad. If you look at the top 2 graphs, you see reading, okay? And if you look, they're not exact. The first graph is reading in the fall, and the second graph is reading in the winter. So you'll see that it went from 12% to 34%, reaching that's considered grade level. The yellow is considered 1 below, and the red's considered 2 and 3 below. So you will see that the red is going down. The yellow's not necessarily bad if they were red before, right? And then getting them from yellow to green is the next step. So you'll see we're doing great work. Math, we went from 10% to 45%. So, you might even be able to say those are, yeah, and it's always interesting to look and see how they correspond to CAS. We do all of that. But iReady's definitely been a big tool. And I want to affirm Director Toy for her work with iReady and moving the schools to excellence. And the last bullet point here, actually, there's one about chronic absenteeism. One of our 4 goals is reducing it. And despite our ongoing efforts over the past years, it poses interesting challenges due to some of the circumstances are extenuating, some are not. And trust me, Epic has spent many hours trying to solve and help rectify that issue. But when you look at the state data, it's a state problem as well. So hopefully, there's going to be team efforts and how we can partner with the state to improve absenteeism, because it takes a team approach. And then moving on to one of our school-wide goals, we did create a listening assessment that we've been implementing over the past 2 years. Speaking and listening, we looked at the data, and it's an important goal, and it links to CAS as well. And obviously, it's important for real life, right? And I want to affirm Dr. Gold, because this work started as a project with her and Dr. Peterson, and she came in and did some PD with our staff, and they're doing all kinds of great standards-based work on speaking and listening that we're going to continue. All right, I'd like to transfer over to Nina, who's going to talk a little bit about our great work in coherence this year.
Yes, I think it's been all our instructional framework. When we just look at this picture, it means nothing to you, and it's just like arrows and circles, but in reality, it became a key guide for our it's a living document. Every classroom have, and teachers know what it is, and it's revised every year with the teachers, and it was created with the teachers. So it's like it's a great document that we use to guide to make a program comprehensive and positive and welcome for all students. And also, I had the pleasure of working with a team from LTL 360. to implement our CSI plan as a key component of our parents' work for 2022, 2023. And I would like to welcome Vanessa from LCL 60 and Red Troy for their work with Epic School implement this year. Our peers team and every teacher conducted 3 cycles of inquiry to analyze data, goals, modify goals and action if it's necessary, and plan the whole staff evaluation. I would like to affirm our lead teacher for demonstrating excellence in our appearance work and leading their PLCs from the middle. And I have the opportunity to work with teachers and LCO 360 team through the cycles of inquiry and heard a lot of positive feedback from teachers about students' achievement and students' engagement. I think it's good CSI, but will be here and we will continue using the framework for evaluate our goals and updates. It will be updated annually. So we'll work with this anyway and as needed.
All right, that takes us to LCAP actions, and since we're going to talk about LCAP, I want to start off with a quick affirmation because many departments at GCC under the leadership of Executive Director Elliott made some significant revisions to the process to streamline things, and it's greatly noticed by principals. And I'm sure you could talk to more than one other than me, but I just wanted to thank business services and the team under Lori's direction. Because it's really wonderful, the new changes that we made to our process. So thank you for that. And so Epic could very well be an arts-focused charter school. If you walked around our halls, you can see that, and all of our visitors do. All students receive art and art design in all grade levels, at least once a week. Middle schoolers get it 4 days a week. And here you see our wonderful new art teacher, Mr. Roberts, on the right, interacting with students. He has some really cool and innovative ideas that he's going to bring to Epic and our students. I'm really excited about next year in our art program. And I want to refer Miss Violetta, our PYP teacher as well, who always keeps our art hallway well decorated with student work. She does a great job with the students. For International Baccalaureate, we've made some significant progress over the past year and past years. We're sending more teachers ever to training. Next year, we're up for evaluation where they're coming to Epic to visit our primary years program, which we're really excited about. Our coordinator, Ms. Nina, is doing a great job with that, along with our lead teacher, Ms. Wise. Actually, there's a future picture here where you see him in Chicago at a training, learning more about that. But I'm really excited because our theme is actually to go K-8. We're going to focus on creating student agency. And it's a term that's used a lot, but there's so much more to it than what people think it is, with which is basically giving students more voice and choice in what they're doing, but it's much more complex than that, right? GIS is, I'm sure they've gone through this whole experience also, being one step ahead. And I also have to say I appreciate GIS because we kind of consider them our sister school, and they're one step ahead of us in International Baccalaureate. They've always been willing to share their best practices with us. So it's always nice to have them in the audience here too. But I just had to say that, you guys, we appreciate it. And I want to affirm our other PYP coordinator, Mr. Hancock, who's new and leading MYP. He was previously a PYP teacher, and he's doing a great job. And of course, our lead teachers and Director Takoya, of course, who we can always come to as our IB expert. He's been a tremendous support at Epic. Talk about world languages. We've increased, Spanish has been on the rise for the last few years. We're up to 60 PYP students who are choosing Spanish as their language. So we have Spanish and Russian going on. In middle school, we actually have Spanish and Russian going on. And we managed to pull that off with excellence. And our parents really, we've been doing it for 2 or 3 years, and the parents really seem to appreciate it. Now we have beginning Russian for our students who are entering without any Russian skills. So pretty cool to see. I want to affirm our world language teachers and our new Spanish para, Miss Herrera, who's doing a wonderful job at Epic. Last but not least, we were piloting in our spare time, we were piloting curriculum, and I'm really excited because we adopted History Alive for elementary school, and I know how great that and engaging that curriculum is because I taught it for 7 years with it for 7 years, and it was the favorite, and we piloted it. It was actually part of the the Williams audit because we in social studies and science we need to update our curriculum. Science is going to come next year, so we're looking forward to that. And I want to affirm Ed Services and Ashley Cow for her help with the Williams audit last year. Moving on, more all cap actions. Field trips are back. Here's a
Yeah.
picture of our kindergartners at the firehouse. Every grade level took field trips. They went to Gold Discovery Park. They went on boat trips on the Pacific. They went to performances. Middle school went on a full grade level field trip to IMAX in the park. So it was really nice getting back to that fully. We did a few last year, but this was really the full year of field trips and great way to promote college and career readiness. Our ACES program over the past 2 years has really moved to excellence under the guidance of Mr. Victor and Nina. We weren't even ACES until last year was our first year. And we've got robotics, we've got martial arts, as you see here, we've got gymnastics, we've got science, we've got esports. We're adding all kinds of cool stuff. Next year, I saw we're going to have droning. There's a drone group that we're going to have. So I guess they'll be building drones and flying them on the playground. So that'll be interesting to see. Really excited. And tutoring is a part of that. We've got like 12 teachers that tutor students after school until 4 o'clock. And that's part of our EL strategy because we make sure that those that need it get into that tutoring. Also, our music program, wonderful partnership. 75 students learning instruments as part of our after school program. Here you see them performing at our fall festival. Wonderful job in music. And then last but not least, you might say, what's that picture of those kids jumping over sticks? That's rhythm and dance equipment. That's part of a PE teacher's IV unit. So we've had to, when you reinvent PE, you need to, you're not just buying footballs and basketballs, right? So we use some money to diversify some of the equipment to promote more cooperative games and play and learning and things like this that that are cool without IV, requiring the dance and the rhythm. So want to affirm Mr. Ponick, our PE teacher, for the great job that he's doing. And moving on to our next slide, equity, inclusion, and diversity. A lot of great work happening in Epic with that this year. We have an equity statement that we recognize equity does not mean equality. It means meeting the needs of all students, which is our goal. And you'll see this, so our focus group based on the data, surprise, surprise, is English learners that we're building equity for, right? They're an underrepresented and vulnerable population. If you look here, so we're looking to, and obviously you saw the data. So what we're doing here, we might be onto something, not that we can ever add or subtract things. One of the best things we did this year was, I always say one of the most challenging things for a teacher at Epic is differentiating the instruction to meet the needs, especially with all the newcomers that we're serving now. And our teachers do a wonderful job, but they have needs. So we made a point to meet with each grade level twice this year to express where they can express their needs, what our plans for ELD was, where they need more support. And it was greatly appreciated by our teachers. And part of the reasons why we have good retention, because we do things like that. And then if you look, some of these things that we're doing, it's a potpourri of different kinds of things. We hired more staff, right? Because it's important to have bilingual staff that can go in and help the teachers. Most of our ELD is push-in, where the adults are in the classroom helping the students, which research shows is the best way to meet their needs. Also, this is a key point. Some people say, oh, world languages, that's great. Yes, Spanish and Russian, and they can speak that language. They don't realize it's a key component of the ELD in our schools, right? Because research shows that students that can read, write, and speak in their primary language can learn their second language better, right? So, in essence, many of our students' second language is English. right? And their primary language, and so it's just kind of an interesting way to look at things. But we offer primary and that's with Spanish too, right? Because a lot of our new students, you'll see we're up to 10% Hispanic Latino, which is a big thing to celebrate at Epic and something we've worked on and strived to do for years, is to increase our diversity. And it's happening if you look at our class lists and you know what, we've had Spanish newcomers for the first time at Epic this year. And they're getting Spanish ELD through our Spanish PYP program. So, so just, you know, great things that are happening. It's a multifaceted approach. We another big thing is iReady. Okay, I mean, imagine this. iReady, if a student, no matter what their English, learn what their English level is, if they can push a button at home and their parents know it helps them and works with them, they can do iReady all summer long and get intervention on their own. It really is that good of a program. So, you know, obviously I've sent parent squares out and I'm going to keep sending them out, encouraging parents to use the Chromebooks that they kept over the summer to do iReady and reaching them on that level, because I think it could have a huge impact. We targeted EL students for tutoring programs. We used another technology program called Imagine Learning with our kindergartners, which they speak. It's more speaking than listening. We Project Lab, all of our integrated ELD, like 95% of our teachers are trained. We had 10 go to lab training, and that's just with strategies, and they observe each other and talk about best practices all the time. And then of course we focus on heterogeneous grouping because, you know, you got to look at your class list to see who's there, because you know, they got to be balanced so you can do collaborative learning and students can interact with students at different ability levels. And that's how learning takes place, right? And especially when you have students speaking English and Russian and Ukrainian, and you know the group work is key, right? Because they can help each other. And that's what happens in that. So I want to affirm our community engagement department. They did an excellent job reaching out. In Key Primero Mono magazine, the student goes to our school and they do magazine ads. So they really work to help us build that population. So and that diversity that we're starting to see. Okay, Lena?
I think it's so proud of in this work that we need to engage in our stakeholders. As Jay was mentioned.
Lena, if you could just go a little bit louder.
Oh, I'll try. I think it's proud of tremendous work we've done to make engaging our stakeholders. And as Jay already mentioned, the enrollment grew from 302 students to almost 400 students. And during this year, Epic held like fall festival in October and multicultural festival in April to engage community stakeholders. And both events went very well and are very successful. We had some visitors. And West Sacramento Mayor Martha Rivera and Police Chief Robert Strange visited Epic during the fall festival. They were so proud of Epic and they really liked our school. And new partnership with college and career corps provided college student assistance with our basic program. That's a new partnership, and I would like to inform Dr. Gold for creating college and career partnership. Thank you. And of course, community engagement department assisting Epic a lot in the strategies to grow and our enrollment through advertisement and support our school events. And I would like to inform Sharon, David, and Director of Community Engagement Department, Sergey Zerkov, for their support and help and for supporting us. Next slide is social emotional learning, and I just want to say that the Epic is so great. The students are so awesome. And of course, in integrating Capture Keys Card and IB Learning Profile with Castle model helps a lot. And our monthly students and staff recognition with IB Learning Profile and award assembly is like it's monthly thing that everybody likes it. in preparation of sell into ACES program, a little they support us, and also we will focus a lot on play and games before school, because as you know, Epic open from 6 a.m. So we have a lot of students in the morning, so we need to engage them. So the games and like ping pong tables, it helps a lot, and they really like to come to school at even 6 o'clock. And the number early birds are growing a lot. And also during the lunch, we have a lot of activities for students like dancing, ping pong, football, and all other sport activities. And also Epic has like an active student council, which helps a lot with planning like some fun activities. And we have movie night, first time ever at Epic, that was great. And it was all created with our wonderful students council. I would like to applaud Mr. Hell and Mr. Pearson for their work with our students council and leading fun activities such as movie night, as I mentioned. And also I would like to applaud entire the staff go above and beyond to help students to feel safe, and we're focusing a lot on positivity. So but being good, students store ice cream, pizza, popcorn, pie, so we think a lot of things here.
All right, thanks, Nina. All right, the next couple of slides are about our impact this year, and we made many connections between social emotional learning, academic excellence, and equity. And they all kind of interrelate to each other. It's kind of hard to look at them in a sense because we know two of them will interrelate to the other two. But basically, we found that they all link to academic excellence the most, because you can't have academic excellence without SEL and equity happening. So basically, some connections and factors in our impact, our academic excellence. We make sure that our practices at Epic, collaborative learning, agency, inquiry-based learning, project-based learning, that it leads to higher student engagement and achievement. And I'll talk about our evidence for this because all of this there's an end result. And the social emotional learning, we are intentional in making school a fun, engaging, and positive place to be for students, and incorporated play and positive incentives into almost every element of our school. And as far as equity is concerned, you are successful welcoming of almost 100 newcomers in the last few years, and their integration into the school. It's by the results of our surveys, Epic's demonstrated that our IB program is developing culturally competent students. So moving on to the next slide, you say, what's our evidence of this impact? I'm more mathematical, so I like to look at surveys and concrete data. And I mean, our 22-23 showcase school survey, we're a national showcase school, and I mean, many of the things. So what I'm saying is that they overwhelmingly indicates that Epic students feel safe, healthy, and engaged in their learning. And the things I mentioned now are things that were indicated in the survey that were far above the baseline, they call it in their survey. My teachers care about me. This is the student's voice that's high above the national baseline. My teachers treat me nicely. I like my teachers. I have good relationships with the adults on campus. Students treat each other respectfully. My teachers make learning interesting. So that shows me that engagement's alive at Epic. And the second thing is just simply our exit from comprehensive school improvement, which is a combination of multiple measures of data that, some measure our school culture. But yeah, our exit from that shows that we're creating impact as well. What's next? Many exciting things. Sustaining our IB excellence as a fully authorized school, and our evaluation this year. Next year is going to be a big year for visits at Epic. We had it easy this year. Next year we have a virtual WASC mid-cycle visit, which is good. They'll check in with us on our goals, which we're achieving. So it's really nothing that we're going to do great on that. Of course, excellence with capturing kids' hearts implementation. Sustained focus on instructional coaching. This is one of the keys to EPIC success, and I want to affirm Dr. Gold. And I mean, it all started with Wendy and LTL 360 were involved, and the coaches meetings. There's a whole instructional coaching is like focus. And at EPIC, we were fortunate enough, when the culture is good, people want to stay. We don't have staffing issues. The substitutes want to come. So, it makes it much easier to do coaching because our coach is actually doing coaching. And so we did lesson study, we did learning rounds. He's doing math coaching with teachers. So coaching is alive and well at EPIC, and we're going to keep taking that next step forward with that focus. And we're going to continue our meaningful work in enhancing equity and social emotional learning at EPIC by working with GCC on our MTSS work, which is alive and well. And then, of course, we're going to continue outreach to further increase our cultural diversity amongst staff and students at EPIC. And so that concludes my presentation. I want to say thank you to our wonderful superintendent, incoming superintendent, and cabinet for all of their unwavering support of EPIC. I want to pay special thanks to Dr. Cindy Peterson for being such an engaged, visible, and supportive superintendent of EPIC. Cindy, if you're out there, we love you. We're going to miss you, but enjoy your retirement. I know I haven't seen you in a while. I want to acknowledge Mr. Sample, and he's been here many years. I've known him for many years in many different roles, and how excited we are about EPIC and GCC under his leadership as well. And I want to thank the board for all of their unwavering support of EPIC. You'll see here we have some gifts for you. And they are basically a shirt and a thank you card and some goodies. So thank you for your support of EPIC. Make sure I give you the right one. There's a shirt in there. If your size isn't right, let me know and we can exchange it. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, and
That was fantastic. It was really great presentation with great information. And you have just come into your own. You and EPIC are just, you like this. I mean, you really enjoy, it's obvious you enjoy what's happening at EPIC. And I'm really very proud of what you're doing there and the staff. Before I go, do you have what other staff members here from EPIC?
yeah, Miss Nina's here.
Just Miss Nina. Well, thank you, Miss
We have
Nina.
another person streaming the board meeting.
Board members, I'm sorry, but I just had to get
I
that.
forgot questions.
Yes. Comments and questions. Yes.
Well, I want to thank you for your in-depth presentation, and it is true, there just appears to be a lot of enthusiasm and
Yes.
a great deal of teaching and learning taking place at EPIC. You had dwelled on a couple of things. I'm kind of interested if you could expand on what you see with the learning loss and trying to catch up, and then also the relationship with students being absent as more as a result. Is that a result of the pandemic? And what can we do to address that?
Well, it's tough because they do the dashboard for chronic absenteeism. You're saying, I'll just give a basic answer. It's, you look across the state and it's, I mean, look at GCC data. Most schools or many schools are what they call very low, where it's a problem. And, COVID related, it started with that. And then, people being told to stay home when sick. And people staying home when, something might be going on. And then also, but now COVID's waning, right? But, now, the state's making the push for immunizations. So, that's had an effect. Students having to stay home until they have what they need and things like that. So that affects numbers too. And then, you say it's the parent. Look, I guess the question is whose responsibility is it? The school plays a role, the parents play a role. It's creating that partnership and finding a way to do it. If you home visits work, do positive incentives for students work. So we've tried everything and we're going to continue. One of the big things we did was we revised our independent study process, which tightened things up. And our numbers are still, despite having an independent study for when we know kids are gonna be absent, so, we're just gonna continue to keep working.
What is your rate? Do you know what the percentage
I
is?
think they're in the thirties.
30s.
Which means I think the number, it ends up when you do the math, that they have like 16 or more absences, so it is a lot to hit that number. So we do everything we can, it's the present schools, good drive, are they supposed to go drive home and put the kids in the car and bring them to school? So you can just use your imagination for all the different possibilities that here. I've heard everything in the book. But the thing is it's a focused goal, and it has been for 3 years at Epic. And it will continue to be, and we're gonna keep working at it until it's a positive impact on that. Because we all know you can't learn if you're not in school, right? Especially if you're English learners, it makes it much more difficult, right? When your parents don't speak English and you're not at school, it's so.
Yeah. Oh, but
Was there a second part to that I missed?
No, that was fine. I know it's going to be a challenge, not only for Epic and Gateway, but statewide and nationally. I think that kind of the traditional pressure the students had to show up because of the COVID staying home, and the fact that they probably many of them like staying home instead of coming to school.
The one positive thing our surveys indicate is that the kids want to be at school, right? And they can't drive, so now it's reaching the parents.
Now
Right?
it's reaching the
So
parents.
it's
the motivation.
getting the parents to do it, and I'm sure we have kids, one of our strategies is we schedule all of our student stores and things on Fridays that they want to be at, because Friday was the biggest day for attendance. And that helped a little bit, so you do everything, we've tried every strategy, we're always looking, part of our coherence meetings is, it's always on the agenda.
Okay,
Ways that we can adjust and do better. You track students, you send them letters, you have positive and you have negative approaches, right? You can do SARBs and try to call the parents in, or you can do it through positive incentives, right? There's different strategies.
and it's obvious you're doing all of those things.
We try them, we're doing them all.
Yes, so thank you for that.
and could you elaborate on the integration of the refugee students that you had this year? You talked about the groupings and the learning, but I know it has to be a challenge because these are students that come in with probably many of them very limited or any English learning, and yet to get them mainstream. What's some of the challenges you're facing there?
Yeah, I mean, there's no magic recipe, like we have our multi-strategy approach. But the bottom line is you have to use what your strength is, and Epic is built to support newcomers. Because we have many English speaking students who speak the language that can go back and forth and make learning meaningful for these students. And not only do they and talk about social emotional learning, where else can you come and have adults and students who speak your language, for social aspects as well. So, Yolo County board members that visit, everybody's just in awe that, this is the place, it's a special place where this can happen. It can't happen everywhere, right? At this time in history, with them coming here, schools like Epic and GIS, that they're in a special place where they can, really do something special in COA, elementary and middle school.
Well, thank you so much. I
Thank
know we gotta move into our next group. So we appreciate, really appreciate your report. Very well done. And now, I guess we are moving into GIS, annual school report.
All right, so we have Gateway International School with Principal Ms. Steve Dillon. I'd like to invite her up, and just kind of as I've done with all, I want to give her a huge affirmation, as this year she has been the full principal. She was campus principal last year, but really have been excited to see her leadership journey, the growth of the school, the growth of the program, and the sustainability of it. So thank you, Ms. D.
Thank you.
And Ms. Dillon.
It's all yours.
All right, we just have a little something for each one of you. This is student created artwork that we want to present every member, if you guys could.
Thank you.
And then a little survival kit that we had actually done for our staff and saved some for you guys as well. But This is project that our 8th graders made. So there's a little writing on the back for some of you guys on the presentation, or it just kind of goes over what each piece represents. So thank you. Good
Thank
evening,
you. Good evening.
Madam President, board members, Superintendent Sample, cabinet. We are delighted to be here tonight to present you guys our annual report. And I would like to introduce my team, our administrative team, Ms. Stephanie Coyle, our vice principal. Mr. Avery here, our PYP coordinator and instructional coach, and Ms. Tiffany Harris, our MYP instructional coach. So they will be presenting with us.
Thank you.
And of course, the rest of our school leadership team is here tonight as well. So I would like to affirm all of you guys for coming here. Thank you everyone for coming and supporting us tonight. With that, I will let you show a table of content on the pacing of how we are doing things. We'll start off with good things, academic excellence, instruction, parent and community engagement. We'll go into DEI, SEL, the impact all of these things and components have on your school site, and then what's next. I'll start off with good things. The biggest one that we want to highlight is our IB and NYP evaluation success that we had this school year. Our 5-year evaluation visit went very beautifully, and we got raving feedback from the committee, and we got the final report, and it has so many good things in there. So we're proud of the work. So I want to congratulate my NYP team on the hard work they've done to support, and the rest of the school side, of course, for their support with it. And of course, I can't go without thanking Ms. Lily Campbell, Mr. Sample, and Ms. Joy Chapoy with all of your support and hard work in getting us through this visit. GIS is once again the national showcase school for capturing kids' hearts. So this is our 7th year. Proud of that work. And then our TK expansion. We used to serve around 24 students. In TK was our capacity. We are up to 48. And we actually have 41 registered this school year. So with that, we partner with our church across the street, Sierra Vista Community Church, and have been utilizing their facilities to expand the church. So thank you everyone for supporting with that, Ms. Reina as well, with the church expansion, and Ms. Georgia Boyd with her guidance with the church. GIS has opted a new science curriculum, which better aligns with our IB for the PYP program, because it's more inquiry based, so that supports a lot with that. We have also updated our inquiry center, which is essentially a library, but we call it inquiry center because it essentially is a place where our students are using it to support with their IB learning. And with that, we added a virtual library. And our virtual library is called a Lightbox, and it's through our school website. There's over 10,000 titles that rotate monthly. So our students have access to this virtual library anytime, anywhere. So allowing them an opportunity to read whenever they feel like it, go through books, go through material that's available, including the library books that are in person. They have access to those books online as well if they want to check those out. We've also added after-school math tutoring and ELD tutoring, in addition to our tutoring program that we offer with our teachers after school as well. So that was a great addition this year to have, and expanded our after-school program for only offering it to 160 students to a little over 300 students this school year. So that was a big expansion within that program. All right, academic excellence. So we will start off with highlighting good things from CASP. As you guys can see on the data, over 51% of our students were at or above grade level in ELA, and over 33% in mathematics. This is definitely a drop for our school site from our 2019 scores, but at the same time, we still surpassed the state, the district, and similar school scores in both ELA and mathematics. So proud of that work, proud of all the support and hard work our teachers put into doing this. So thank you, GIS teachers and classified staff that supported with the work around CASP. With that, there was still a significant notable growth with our students with disability in ELA. They grew 5% at 5 points and are now double the state average for that group. We did decline in math, but that was also due to staffing, so math was an area where we dropped significantly. And that was due to staffing in middle school math last school year. With that, I'm gonna pass it over to our instructional coach, Mr. Adrian here, to talk a little bit about iReady.
Evening. So, despite seeing evidence of learning loss, on our first diagnostic at the beginning of the school year, we saw significant growth in both reading and math. By the end of the school year. So in reading, you can see it in our subgroups. We were very pleased with our socioeconomically disadvantaged students. They showed significant growth in our African American students. And in math, we saw similar growth among socioeconomically disadvantaged African American students and our English learners. And so you can see our students at or above grade level starting the year, there was 67 students. By the end of the year, we had 248 students, which I'm very proud of. Our teachers worked so hard to support our students and are responsible for a lot of that growth. But we did a lot to support them this year. So we worked with teachers with cycles of inquiry for writing, where where teachers went through 5 cycles of inquiry, and they focused on the 6 traits of writing. And during these cycles, teachers analyzed writing samples and then adjusted their lessons for future lessons to meet the needs of the students. We also had our school implementation plan focus on reading comprehension. We tracked this data using the iReady Standards Mastery assessment tool, and that was an ongoing effort throughout the year. Our program development plan was a focus for the middle years program, and they focused on academic integrity. And through that effort, we were able to identify a need to address student use of ChatGPT in our academic integrity policy. We also established a new practice of teacher universities, sharing a lot of our capacity with the rest of our staff. So we had 2 days over the course of the school year with 2 sessions on each. And we put on workshops related to GLAD strategies, creating a strong classroom culture, and dyslexia in the classroom. With that, I'd like to pass it off to Ms.
Good evening.
Good evening.
At GIS, we believe in our mission that we want to develop the whole child as a passionate lifelong learner. And in order to do this, we leverage our IB curriculum, which encourages both professional development and academic achievement, and allowing students to think critically and ask the right questions and think across different disciplines. Thank you, Mr. Pierre. PYP marks the start of a lifelong journey. Students in PYP participate in an exhibition project in which they research a global or local issue and identify different solutions in small groups. They then come together and present their findings to our school community. The NYP program develops students' confidence in managing their own learning while making connections with the real world. Students there will allow themselves to participate in a community service project. Students in grades 6 through 7 participate in services action, and 8th graders demonstrate 15 hours of community service through the community project. The IB learner profiles imply a commitment to help all members of the school community to learn respect for themselves, for others, and the world around them. And we align all of these IB learner profiles with our monthly Student of the Month assemblies. It's a really positive time to acknowledge students for their development in certain skills, but allowing us to give them precise praise. So each month we may celebrate a student from each homeroom for demonstrating the IB learner profile trait of balance, which means eating a healthy meal, learning to balance working out, and then also making sure that you don't use the video games too much. Our field lessons have also been an amazing way to engage learners. We recently took our 8th grade class to Yosemite for an end of year field trip. And we want to thank Dr. Heather Gold for supporting us with this, as well as Ms. Rayner for your support. This left a long lasting impression on our 8th graders' hearts. They will forever be changed. In terms of instruction for our special populations, campus-wide, we felt a positive impact from iReady, just as Mr. Pierce shared. We saw gains in ELA because students were engaged every day with iReady with their daily progression reports, either done in homeroom or for middle school in their enrichment hour. In addition, we use iReady all 3 trimesters as a benchmark, and we allowed our students to sit and reflect on their data points. So a student in middle school may sit in on Friday with their advisor and write down a reflection on their gains or their losses and make connections on why that was. Then those students took those reflections and showed them to their parents during the student-led conference. As you know, GIS is the home to many newcomers and English language learners. We're really proud of the work being done in our English language department. We have highly dedicated bilingual teachers, which we'll show you a chart of demographics later. In addition, we have amazing bilingual paraprofessionals who are able to push into classrooms and provide small group instruction. We want to thank Dr. Eric Crawford for his support with helping our campus gain access to SIPS. For those of you who are unfamiliar, SIPS is a research-based foundational skills program that is proven to help both new and struggling readers in grades K through 12. Now, this has supported our campus instructional framework because SIPS aligns perfectly with MTSS, and it can be used across all 3 tiers of instruction. Finally, as Principal Dillon mentioned, we partnered with Turtle Ed for after-school tutorials to offer students small group instruction as an intervention, and this allowed us to track data in reading and in math. And finally, parent and community engagement. At GIS, we happily engage with our educational partners by inviting them to be active members of our community. We saw an increase this year in parent involvement, specifically in the school site council and DLAC committee meeting. I personally was moved when I saw my campus principal award each participant, each parent with a certificate of achievement for their participation and dedication. It was a joy to see them being acknowledged. We hosted various parent workshops. Specifically this year, we talked about student agency. What does that look like outside of the classroom? How can we give students a voice to be more independent at home? And how can parents work with us as partners when it comes to helping them develop specific ATL skills, for example, self-management. We also empower our parents to learn how to use our online portal with Aries and Toddle, which we just transitioned over to, which houses our IB summatives and all of our unit plans. So we're really wanting to empower and build capacity with them. We have more than 80 approved volunteers. We do understand it takes a village to raise a child. And so our school is always inviting and searching for volunteers, and they're welcome to come in and support our teachers in the classrooms. They accompany us on field trips, and they also attend school events to help us facilitate and welcome in members. This summer, we're partnering with Arden Manor Parks and also Mission Oaks Parks to provide an extended school year to students who wish to attend summer school, but closer to their home. So we're offering that to them, in addition to our longstanding partnership with Sierra Vista Community Church that houses our TK program. I also want to give a shout out and a big affirmation to our school counselor, Ms. Sam Olson. She planned our second annual career week, Careers on Wheels, which she opened the doors and invited professionals throughout the Sacramento area and allowed them to engage and teach our students grades TK through 8 about different careers and to see what they would want to do beyond school. Now I would like to transition and give the podium to our Vice Principal, Stephanie Coyle.
Good evening.
Hard to apologize. So I'm very proud to always talk about our IB philosophy, IB for all. So On GIS, the campus, we are wall to wall, TK through eighth grade, everyone gets IB education, doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, your life experiences. We respect your diversity, we respect the students' backgrounds, their cultures, and their life experiences. To meet our DEI goals, we do emphasize the learner profile attributes like caring, open-minded, and principled within our inclusion policy. Teachers differentiate instruction to allow access to all learners. So as far as I belong, one of the ways we build camaraderie at GIS is to divide all students and staff members into 5 house color groups. And it's just a chance for the groups to come together. They have fun competitions, we do fundraising, and it's just a time where they feel like they belong into a community even smaller than just the broad GIS into their house group. And then with our school council, they have students have many opportunities to use the agency that we've been talking about, that Jared referred to as well. They have the chance to celebrate the culture of our school. They have a chance to celebrate the languages and achievements of our students. And the student council has a direct pipeline with them this year, so she listens carefully to our students as well. As far as celebrating diversity, we have a diverse campus. It's getting more diverse by the day, which is fabulous. We get a lot of kids from the community. So we definitely celebrate the cultures, languages, and the special qualities which every child and family brings, also our staff. Again, Sam Olson, our fabulous counselor, shows up pretty much to our campus. Every day we have a morning announcement. She will either give a fact or a quote based on the cultural month's theme. So we have Black History, Women's History, Pacific Islander. So every month we have a focus, and our librarian and inquiry center also focuses on books written about or by that cultural group. So that's fabulous. On the screen, you can see the 2 graphs. The top graph is the I think it's what our students speak. Yes, thank you. Our students speak because of all the languages. And then the bottom graph is our staff. Our staff, they're bilingual, trilingual. We have amazing staff, so they have a lot to offer. And with MTSS, we are really trying to meet the needs of all students. So all means all, and everything that we are learning through MTSS, we're trying to, again, meet the needs of all students. Right. So our approaches to learning and learner profile attributes are the core of what we teach, and it's the foundation of our mission that through inquiry, reflection, and rigor, students will become globally aware and actively involved in their community and the world. So a few of our favorite learner attributes are being communicators, being principled, open-minded, and caring. The PBIS toolbox is something that is fabulous. Our SST coordinator has been using that a lot this year, and we're becoming more familiar. The teachers are becoming more familiar with this. And what we do is it gives examples and strategies of how to encourage students that are having difficulties, they're struggling behaviorally or academically. If you look at the picture all the way to the right in the middle, you can see a little beagle. That was with our pause to share. Again, Sam Olson, our counselor, brought pause to share during state testing this year to bring a moment of calm and stress relief during a very challenging time. The handlers and the dogs on campus brought joy and brought smiles to everyone involved. And we're actually very proud of our suicide prevention program, which we utilize TK through 8th grade. And our counselor is doing this with pushing lessons. TK through 5th grade focuses on identifying a trusted adult and how to be a good friend by recognizing if someone is not feeling well and teaching empathy. Our 3rd through 5th graders also learn about self-awareness and how to identify if a friend is struggling. And our 6th or 8th graders, we're using the signs of suicide with them. Peaceful Playground was utilized by our MYPs, our middle years program, services action groups, and they help to ensure our students have productive and safe recesses. So they take that unstructured time and give students a resource, games they might not know how to play, or just know how to follow the rules of the games, so that across the campus we follow the same rules. And that has provided a good resource for everyone. And we had Girl Scouts this year for TK to fifth grade girls. It's fabulous. They brought cookies as well to our campus. We had never had that, so that's fun. But the troop supported our school mission to develop the whole child as a compassionate, lifelong learner. So that's my last slide, impact. Again, IB for all. It's every day, wall to wall, TK through eighth grade. Every day incorporating her lessons, we emphasize growth mindset, inquiry, and rigor. As far as our language and inclusion policy, we emphasize the belief that learning multiple languages promotes international mindedness and encourages multilingualism. It also opens the mind to diversity and understanding of other cultures. We also emphasize that a child's mother tongue should be practiced and maintained. And in order to provide an inclusive and equitable learning environment, we support all language learners and their families by utilizing a variety of resources. We utilize our bilingual staff to translate any communication between home and school. And we are proud of our survey results. So our staff, parent, and student survey, cultural survey, reported that 85% of our respondents agree that our program encourages critical thinking. 96% agree that teachers listen to the students. So again, giving the student agency. 89% of the respondents feel that our school is a safe place to be. And I'm very proud that 88% of the respondents feel that students from different backgrounds become friends. So we're hoping that our celebrating cultural diversity has been working. I'd like to give a couple to Mrs. Dylan Keller.
Ms. Pearl, here, Ms. Harris. All right, so what's next for our campus? We are having conversations with San Juan about adding additional portable classrooms and field enhancements, as that is an area of need with our growing student population, which we kind of did not get into, but during the pandemic, our enrollment numbers were down. We're down to 535, and we are up to 591 was the last I checked. So it's definitely growing, and there's a need for some changes on our campus. So we're working on that. Thank you, Mr. Elliott, for supporting me with that, and Jerry Little for supporting in these conversations. So let's see where we can get with that. Continued social and emotional support for our students and staff. That is an area that we all need to continue working on, as it is an area of need for after the pandemic. Season of WASP looks like Jerry's doing his 3-year review, and we are getting our WASP evaluation. So our visit is next school year. It's in the spring, and we already need to work around it. So we'll continue doing more work with it this coming school year. So that's happening next. IB is we just went through one IB visit for NYP, and the following school year after that is our PYP one. So, and that requires program development plan, which is like an action plan on some things that we want to work on. And student agency has been an area we are all talking about now. It is a buzzword, I would say, but that is an area we want to work on and giving our students more voice and choice in the classroom. So that'll be something we're working on as a school-wide, and supporting our students and figuring out as a site, how do we give students agency? So there will be a lot of deeper work done in it next school year with that. Thank you, Director Chikoy, for bringing building thinking classroom in the mathematics to GIS. As you saw, and I mentioned earlier, mathematics is an area of growth. So we will be working with Scully, partnering up with them and bringing that to our site. All TK through 8th grade in one form or another. So that'll be next school year. We're also going back to our traditional, our old way where we used to have 2 vice principals. So we will be adding a second vice principal next school year. With the need of all of our English learners and refugee students, we are acknowledging the learning loss from the pandemic. We're acknowledging a need for additional intervention. So we are going to be adding an intervention teacher to support in tier 2 and tier 3, using the 6, the Sunday, possibly something else. So it depends on how it all works out. And to be compliant with the Williams Act, GIS is adopting the new social studies for both PYP and NYP, and science curriculum for NYP next school year. So a lot happening. Thank you everyone for supporting with that. Thank you both for approving all of those orders. Thank you. Amara for helping us with those orders and also George and Paul for helping us with that. And Dr. Gold. So thank you everyone for all your support. With that, hey students, thank you everyone. Questions for you guys?
Thank you so much, board members. Yes, there.
I just have to say, thank you for your comprehensive presentation. And by the way, congratulations on your academic success and
Yes.
reading. That really jumps out at you when you take a look at that. I really like that graph, the pie graph that you have on the languages spoken, because it kind of really gives you a visual on the challenges that you face. And kind of a question, if you can elaborate, because obviously the feedback from the parents is the parents that send their students to GIS is very, very positive. Do you really face some challenges with the parents trying to explain what you do with an IB school and why their students, are there and participate? Because it is a challenge.
It is a challenge, but we also somehow throughout our meetings, when we do parent meeting back to school night, be it it's open house or it is IB night, we try to do some kind of presentation or workshop around it to give a little bit more guidance on what our program entails. And yes, sometimes we do get the feedback. It's very rigorous and it's hard for their children. But it's a reminder and it's ingrained into all of our staff. So I hear our parent liaison having conversations around that. I've heard my registrar having conversations around that on, yes, it is, but let's look at the data and let's look at the results and what the school has to offer to your child. So I think it's also that component of offering the world language electives, offering art and music to the students, offering an after school program to the students. So all of those are enticing ways of getting them to, understand the philosophy behind why we are rigorous.
I imagine word of mouth with the parents speaking to their neighbors and so forth is a very positive recruiting tool for you and your program with your success. Just to be consistent, I need to ask the question, with the refugee students coming in, what challenges have you faced? And is there anything that you would ask of us that you need for greater support?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the challenges we face is, the translation in the classrooms. Brand new refugee students coming in, a brand new English learner, doesn't even know the American alphabet. But here we are trying to provide them this education in the classroom, and the teacher is just talking. And there's nothing that's happening, right? It's not connecting the dots with the children. So one of the things we did is we strategically, when we placing students, is we would put them into certain classes and make sure there's peer support in some of those classrooms that spoke their language and are able to provide those translation services. And do push-in and do pull-out services for those students as well. So the pull-out was really big for us to students who were at level 1 for LPAC testing or level 2. That was very much, how do we support them more? So we've been working on that this year. As far as needs are concerned, I believe we've discussed in my last budget meeting and kind of have been working on getting the needed support, additional supporting to meet the needs of the added students that we have on our campus.
Well, thank you for your good work and your staff. Thank you.
Mr. Buck.
I just want, looking at this and I'm just amazed at what I've seen across the nation with African American scores, how they went down, way down. And to look at those scores go up like they did, it's just shocking to me. I mean, I'm just shocked when I saw that. I said, oh, I can't believe this. But that's great, and the things that you're doing over there with the IBM program, with all the students, it helps. I haven't visited as much as I should have, but they let us come back to the schools now, so I'll be able to learn more next year.
We all will, even with Epic, I feel bad because I haven't been there, but you see more next year. Well, yes.
I want to kind of follow up a little bit on that, and I think it's something that kind of sets GCC apart, and it's really not talked about enough, I think. And if there are two major parts of both your presentations, one diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the other social emotional learning. We hear a lot about that across the country and it's not good. And I think we really do a good job. And I think that's why we get some outcomes that other people don't get. And so really kudos to the whole staff for incorporating those areas so much integrated into the whole program that I think it really sets us apart.
Well, I'm gonna have to dwell a little bit more in that. What is your African American population? Actually, you do not go through that. You know that.
Okay, so little over 4%
Yeah,
is our.
which makes a difference in terms of your scores. But we appreciate the fact that it is showing that progress is being made. And back to your survey. So I look at numbers. What was your survey return? Do you
I
know?
cannot tell you exactly, but it
About.
was definitely roughly a little over 100 parents took the survey. So
Okay,
that's still good. I mean, we do have 600, close to 600 students, so we would like to see more, but
yeah,
whatever we can get, we try to get.
good, okay. I just wanted to equate the number return with the survey. So thank you. May I see all of your staff people?
Yes,
Who here?
yes.
Stan, would you please stand? Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for being here tonight and continue the progress that you're making. We really appreciate everything that you do in order to have the scores that you have and the kind of programs that you have with parent participation. All. So we personally, the board personally thanks you. Thank you for being here. All right. And if you need to leave, although the school is not in now, usually I let you go, but.
Summer break has started. Hey Lily, are we gonna have a meeting, a GI, one of the board meetings like we used to?
Well, we certainly, Ms. Dillon, the board would like to be invited to your school for board meeting one night.
Absolutely.
So have to talk to the superintendent,
Absolutely.
this incoming superintendent.
We have some restrictions about where we can locate a board meeting. Our board meetings have to be held in the area where we have the majority of our clubs, so they have to be on the perimeters. However, we have talked about some ways to get some more study sessions in each of the schools.
I don't think we've seen the new, totally the construction revision or any of that. We was under, when we were there last time, it was being torn up and, you know.
Oh, it's beautiful over there. It's really, progress has certainly been made over there. It's just gorgeous.
So we may use the flexibility of a future retreat there
Yeah.
versus a regular meeting center.
Very pretty over there. They've done a great job so far. And I know you need more space too. Because you're bursting at the seams, so thank you.
Lily.
Thank you. I just said, I know, I didn't say it.
Just when I can make it happen, I just know. Acknowledging it is the big part of it.
Thank you so much. All right, we shall continue on with our board agenda. And now we have the governance may revise, 2023 governance may revise. So you're gonna bring us a little bit of information on that.
So, Madam President and Board, our CBO, Ms. Raymond, is going to kind of walk us through kind of what the picture is around the governor's May revise. And she'll share a little bit of what we know and where we're going with things and how it's informing our adopted budget development. And then at the end of her presentation, I'll kind of give you a brief update of a few bills that we're. So,
Good evening, President Campbell and Board of Trustees. I'm just gonna give you a glimpse of what May revised kind of brought, not a whole lot of changes, but a lot of things still up in the air. So I'll go ahead and start with the California state's economy. As you know, we have our three big taxes: your sales tax, corporate tax, and personal income tax. So we're seeing a shortfall in the personal income tax. Currently, the state has a $31.5 billion deficit. That's obviously statewide, not just, not specifically for education. This is the state's budget. And what we're seeing is that 1% of Californians pay approximately 50% of the personal income tax. So that's one of the biggest buckets of the three taxes. 7% reduction is what we're seeing in the personal income tax since January of 2023. So as of the governor's budget update. We're also seeing high and middle income earners moving out of the state, resulting in the lower income tax that we're seeing, and also less money for education due to having less money. The state having less money means less money for education. And also because there's families moving out of California, we're also seeing an enrollment decline, which is also directly linked to revenue. And then the Department of Finance believes we are going into a moderate recession. So there's mild and moderate words being thrown out. Here's a slide from school services may revise presentation on where they're forecasting. As you can see, there's a dip right around this time. So we're starting to see this in the current year. I'll go on to the next slide. Some other risks that we're seeing is that our attendance rates have not bounced back to pre-pandemic levels. And I think we've heard some of our schools talk about that in terms of, kids are absent because of the whole COVID and they can't return to class if they have a fever, if they don't feel well. And so we're seeing those attendance rates continue to be low. And so you can see on the chart right below on the slide how 21-22 measured compared to other years previously. So it continues to be low. We're seeing this trend also. I think when I presented a while back, we were seeing this type of trend across our sites. So that's impacting us. Experiencing one-time loss of funds, expiring one-time funds. So our ESSER, we're running very low. We're almost expended all of our ESSER federal one-time monies. We do have 2 block grants that we will talk about in a little bit that are kind of somewhat going to offset that, but we'll talk about that in a bit. And then we are also seeing compensation pressure. So PERS continues to go up. It's at 26.68 for PERS, and STRS is capped right now at 19.1, and it's staying flat. So as you can see, I think that's the governor just sitting at the beach with the waves behind him on the pension cost increasing, expiring one-time funds, and expiring attendance relief. And as you well know, last year we got a relief. They were looking at prior year to current year and seeing a yield and giving us money for that. We're not seeing that this year. So that is something we're also have to look about. So what is the governor doing to balance this budget? So for education, they're looking at about 4.3 billion to cut. And they're looking at the arts, music, instructional material block grant and the learning recovery emergency block grant, which is and was initially going to be our offset to the loss of ESSER funding, right? So how do we continue to fund all the staff, all the, some of the staff that we've hired, the one-time expenditures, and helping support, the loss of what's happened to our educational system. So as you can see on the slide, the governor has a proposal of 1.8 billion cut to the arts, music, and instructional materials block grant, and 2.5 on the learning recovery block grant. Well, there's the Senate and the Assembly that are not in agreement with the governor. So it's still up in the air. We'll know most likely between June 15th and June 30th on what finalizes and what they're going to do. The Senate proposal and the Assembly proposals are less cuts to those 2 programs. They're still being cut, but not to the same extent as the governor has proposed. But they are recommending that they go into the Prop 98 rainy day fund, which the governor has not touched so far. So we're still unsure what's gonna happen. Like I said, we will find out more. If these cuts don't happen as extreme as the governor is saying, and they don't go into the Prop 98 rainy day fund, we might see, potential cash deferrals, right? So those are other things that potentially could happen. All three parties agree that they want to keep the COLA at 8.22. So we'll see kind of what transpires. Right now, these are the assumptions. I'm running with the governor's assumptions. We're very conservative. We've made the cuts on our adopted budget for what the governor has proposed. And we'll wait for more. We'll make revisions as we hear more. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about some program updates, some changes, or just updates that we were given on the May revise. So the President Biden has some educational proposals, increase in special ed IDEA funds, which is the same as our state SPED money, increase in Title I, some preschool partnerships. He's looking to expand that. So he has, there was another one I think that came out today in terms of gun safeties at schools that I saw today at school, school services circular. So there's a lot of things coming up that he's wanting to do. So we'll kind of see how that trickles down to our sites. I'm not sure. They haven't really disclosed, what schools will be receiving that, grade levels, etc. So as we hear more, we will bring that back to you. State programs, most of the state programs are receiving the 8.22% COLA, which is great. So we're seeing increases, whatever the rate was, they're increasing it by the COLA on the program stated below. Universal TK ongoing grade level adjustments are continuing. That's part of our LCFF calculation. So we received 3,044 per ADA for every TK that we have enrolled. And the 23-24 requirement is to serve 4-year-olds who are turning 5 between September 2nd and April 2nd. So every year they're extending that. So you can see the 24-25 will be through June 2nd, and then in the 25-26 we will fully be implemented where we will be serving all 4-year-olds. We are currently taking in every 4-year-old that applies. Regardless if if we're not having to take them on yet because they're not within that age, so we can retain them in our schools. There are penalties for adult to pupil ratios and class sizes that, of course, we have Ms. Joy Tapoy and Dr. Gold managing and making sure that those stay within levels. And of course, this is a program that the state continues to expand and continues to fund. The ELOP, as you all know, there's contracts every board meeting in terms of summer program right now. So I'll just kind of go over some of the requirements that this has, just to refresh. 23-24, so this is going to be the first year that we're going to need to be completely in compliance, so it will be an audited year. We get 2,750 per ADA, and I mean that's all ADAs, not just the kids that are participating, not just the students that are participating, but school-wide. There's been talk about changing that. There's bills out there trying to change that, but for now, this is what it is. Some of the requirements and components of the ELOP program is it has to be offered to all eligible students, and we need to provide access and opportunity to enroll. So that is one of the requirements. Registration forms are signed, completed, and on file, and in pupils on master list. So that's the requirement. Third requirement, total of 9 hours combined instructional time that includes recess, lunch, expanded learning time offered on each school day. So before, after, recess, lunch, etc. And then also 9 hours of extended learning time offered on at least 30 non-instructional days. pupil to staff, so that would be our summer time that we're doing right now, so we're trying to meet that requirement with the summer programs. Pupil to staff ratios, not more than 20-1 or 10-1 if the classes serve TK or kindergarten children. Expanded learning opportunity includes an education and literacy element and education and enrichment element. So I think there's been questions on, is there literacy and that type of service with this program, and there's your requirement for that. LEA develops a plan that follows the ACES statutory requirements. So this is supposed to mirror the ACES requirements. So that's just some information on ELOC, just because it's such a big program. Figured I'd go over it. Some new programs and propositions that are coming down. Again, these are kind of like the federal programs that Biden's bringing forward. There's the Prop 28, the Arts Education Program. There's a $933 million investment. This is going to be used to fund art education, and 80% of it has to be funded to employ staff for arts education and instruction. An expenditure plan will be required. So as more information on those requirements come out and what sites are eligible, we will bring that back. There's opioid overdose reversal. So there's a $3.5 million investment ongoing funding for middle and high schools to maintain medication to reverse overdose situations. There's some investments in literacy, both one time to hire literacy coaches and reading specialists. And then also literacy roadmap to help educators navigate existing literacy programs. So again, I don't know how that's gonna be rolled out, but those are some initiatives that are on the table. Cultural enrichment, $100 million to provide 12th grade students opportunities to visit museums, attend theater performance, or participate in enrichment activities. So these are just some of the programs that are being discussed that potentially we will see some type of funding come through. But for now, there wasn't a whole lot real big ticket items, but this is pretty much all that was first, and I will be back next board meeting to review the budget. Is there any questions?
Thank you, thank you.
Well, I think, do you want to?
Yeah, so I'll just tag on to the end here. There are a couple of bills that we continue to watch as they make their way through the legislature. One is SB 739, which was introduced to extend the charter renewal deadline by 2 years. But as it has made its way through the meat grinder of the state capitol, is now down to 1 year. And so we'll see what happens on the final on that. In terms of the work that our staff is doing, we continue to prepare for renewal until we hear finally about that bill. So the other two bills that kind of are impacting education is AB 247 and SB 28. Both of those are statewide school bond measures to put out there, and we'll see how that goes, but we're watching it. One that has been one of interest to a number of small school districts and charter schools, as well as AXA, is a CSEA sponsored bill, SB 88, which is by Senator Skinner, that would impose transportation requirements on schools. So basically, anyone who utilizes vans or other non-school bus type vehicles, drivers, including volunteers and coaches, would be subject to the same qualifications and testing, drug testing, medical testing as school bus drivers, and vehicles would have to be monitored in a different fashion through the California Highway Patrol. So that is beginning to make its way through. Obviously, from the charter school and small school base, it's a killer because it extends to volunteers as well as coaches. And so it's one that we personally are watching very closely as it makes its way. So with that being said, any questions for Rowan?
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you for your presentation. I am reminded on Prop 28 and the passage of that initiative to supplement art and music and so forth. I am reminded, which I know ages me, But some of you may remember we passed the statewide lottery. And schools were to receive, the argument was schools were to receive half of the lottery money, which was estimated to be 2 to 3% of maybe a budget. And surprise, surprise, the next year, the funding from the state was 2 to 3% less. Because they just assumed we were getting more funding. It's an unfortunate way to run a statewide system, and it's really hard to do planning. But overall, if I were to sum all of this up, it looks like that the governor kind of put the pain off for a while. And that we're not likely to get any major we're not going to get any deferrals and so forth for a while. But I liked your visual on the waves coming at us. If you combine all three of those and put them together, it could really hammer us in a couple of years. And I just think I appreciate you making us aware of this.
Yeah. That's the long range plan, what's gonna happen in a couple of years from now, you know, right now,
Absolutely.
we might be sort of teetering, but what's gonna happen in the next couple of years, that's.
I just want to try to digest all this that you just gave to us because it doesn't look too good to me. I just hope they don't come up with some self-driving buses. I really want to make it better.
Okay, is that it? Thank you so much, Mr. Meyer. We appreciate giving us a heads up on what it looks like, and we'll know more as the budget is signed and see where it goes at that time. So thank you very much. And now we are moving to consent agenda items, board members. And I will go over them very quickly so everyone will know what it is that we are voting on. Adoption of the GCC board meeting minutes 5/16/23, personnel consent agenda items, purchases over 30,000, Futures High School overnight trip to UC Santa Barbara, Sava overnight field trip to Point Reyes, CCCS overnight field trip to Slide Park, it's coming up later, revised job descriptions, revised salary schedule 2023-24, and new job description communication college intern job description. These are the consent items for approval. I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Move approval. Second. Any discussions, comments on any of the items presented? Hearing none, roll call. Mr. Block, Harry Block,
Yes.
Bruce Mandrick,
Yes.
Jack Turner,
Yes.
Lily Campbell, yes. 4 board members, Equus, yes. 1 absent, as we know. So thank you. And now we're moving into the next item, curriculum and instruction. Fiscal year 2023-24 local control accountability plan, LCAP public hearing. And I will open the hearing. The board will now open the public hearing on the 2023-24 local control accountability plan for all GCC schools. Mr. Maury Ellis, I believe you are the person that will be presenting this item to the board.
I will be that person tonight.
Thank you.
All right, well, good evening, Madam President, Board, Superintendent Sample. I'm excited to share with you a little bit about our LCAPs for this year. And before we dive in, I want to take a minute just to affirm really the group that's in this room, Dr. Gold, Omira, a lot goes into this. You know, we're unique as charter schools. We each have our own LCAP. So GCC has 9 LCAPs.
You know.
Most districts have 1. LCAPs range
We got
from-
them all.
They range from 70 to 100 pages. And there's a lot of detail that goes into them.
Yes,
It's a whole lot of hours spent by everybody you see in this room to make sure they're done well, done right,
obviously.
and that they are meaningful. So just want to say, proud of the team. And I think this is the first time we've had them done in the month of May. So we're excited to be cleaning up the process, making it more efficient, and keeping meaning behind it as well. Just a quick summary on what the LCAP, why the LCAP is here and what it consists of. It is a requirement as part of the LCFF, the local control funding formula, The current LCAP is a 3-year plan that we started back in 2021. We are now headed into the 3rd year of this plan. So when we present next year, it'll be a whole new document for each of our 9 LEAs. A big component of developing the LCAP is making sure we gather stakeholder input and feedback to put together our goals and the actions to support our foster, homeless, and low-income students. And within the LCAP, we cover the 8 state priorities through each of our goals and actions. And we have over 20 different required metrics that the state gives us that we measure throughout the 3-year plan to make sure that we are really holding ourselves accountable and helping students get the outcomes that we need them to get through proper use of these dollars. When you look at the LCAP document as a whole, it starts with a budget overview for parents. This is a newer component of the LCAP. When the LCAP first started, there was this 100-page document, and we gave it to our stakeholders, educational partners, and said, here you go, here's what we're doing. It wasn't easy to look through, it wasn't easy to read. So they revised it a little bit, and when you look through the first 2 or 3 pages, you'll see a very clean, concise summary of how our dollars were spent in the current school year and how we are budgeted to spend our dollars in the following school year. So that starts the LCAP off. Then it dives into what you guys have all seen before. There is a plan summary with reflections detailing successes for previous years, identifying needs for the upcoming years, identifying LCAP highlights that we're going to hope to accomplish through the specific actions in the following year goals. If you are a CSI school, which a few GCC schools are, the LCAP plan, or sorry, the CSI plan and the CSI budget will be incorporated into the LCAP. There is a section on engaging educational partners where we outline all the different things and ways that we do to engage those partners. There are goals and actions, really the accountability behind the plan that we are expected to meet. There is an increased and improved services section detailing how we're using these dollars specifically for our unduplicated students to increase services and opportunities for them. And then the last longest section is a detailed budget sheet showing what we plan to spend in the current year, what we actually spent in the current year, and then what we are proposing to spend going forward. Engaging educational partners, as I said, is really the fundamental piece to the LCAP development. A few ways our schools do this are through presenting the LCAP document and gathering feedback at school site councils, through our ELAC and DLACs, through our family and community events. We also do a whole lot of surveys, the Hanover survey that many of our principals spoke to in their presentations. That has a lot of LCAP questions in it that we use to create goals and actions. So we want to make sure that we emphasize that feedback from our educational partners is the foundation of how our principal teams develop the goals and actions moving forward. The requirements increase and improve services. This is really the core purpose of the LCAP. We receive specific dollars in the LCAP via the supplemental and concentration grants for each each foster, English learner, and low-income students that enrolls in our schools. And our goal with these extra supplemental and concentration grant dollars is to find ways to increase services in quantity or improve services in quality to make sure those students achieve the academic outcomes that we've set forward for them in the metrics of the LCAP plan. Because this increase in improved services is the core component of the LCAP, there's 3 different places as you look through these really long documents that you can identify specifically how our 9 LEAs are increasing, improving services for our students. It's going to be the 3 sections listed here: the goals and actions section, the actions table, and the required descriptions section. So if you're looking through to identify, hey, how exactly are we making this requirement? Are we meeting this requirement? Those are the sections you can reference in the document, and it'll be very clear and straightforward on how we're meeting that requirement. Last year, I know Dr. Cormack presented that there was a new rule saying we are not allowed to just move unspent S&C dollars at the end of the school year into our general fund. Last year, when she presented, one of the challenges our schools had was that we had a lot of one-time dollars from COVID still to use. And so we had a significant number of S&C dollars unspent. Those dollars rolled over into this year's supplemental and concentration grant buckets. And I'm pleased to say that we did a very good job of spending down those dollars. I believe 2 of our schools have just a little bit left to spend. But overall, we made some big improvements this year, making sure we spent those dollars specifically to provide needed services for students. And we're looking good as far as spending down what we're required to spend down. When you get to the meat of the LCAP, as you're going through the documents, you'll find the goal sections. And in these goal sections, this just highlights what you're going to see You'll see an identified goal. Each of our LEAs has 3 specific goals that they're focusing on. You'll see metrics throughout the 3 goals. You'll find those 20 required metrics scattered across those pages. You'll see baseline data for each of those 20 metrics back from the 2020-2021 school year. You'll see what we said was the desired outcome to get to by the end of next school year. And for this document, you'll see the 22-23 school year update with data from this year. The principals have been presenting in their presentations. You'll see about 50% of the data listed right now. That's most of the internal data, the iReady data, some attendance data. The state testing data we don't yet have. So you will see some sections where it says data not yet available. That will be updated in the fall. But right now, all the data that is complete, you'll be able to see there. And then the big piece, how are we spending our money as we move into next school year? You'll see the actions listed under action title, the money that we plan to spend. At the end of the year, you'll get the actual amount that we spent. And then the principals spend a lot of time on the goal analysis section, identifying specifically how each action helped accomplish the goals that were set forth in the metrics. When you look at the LCAP goals as a whole, it is our job to make sure that we are covering the 8 state priorities, and the 8 state priorities are really broken down into 3 sections: conditions of learning, student outcomes, and student engagement. So as we move into our 3 goals, and across the GCC, each school has the same 3 overarching goals, and then there's different ways in which the schools meet those goals. But goal number 1, conditions of learning, really focuses in on college and career readiness. And an example of different types of expenditures you'll see throughout the LCAPs and the GCC are dollars allocated for staff training, classroom materials, CTE pathways, IB program training, expanded elective opportunities. Those are all going to be under our conditions of learning for college and career readiness. Goal 2 is going to be around maximizing pupil outcomes and lowering the achievement gap. You'll see expenditures towards things such as intervention teachers, parent educators to provide extra support in classrooms, English learner supports, math support and training, and instructional coaches. Goal 3 focuses on student engagement, retention, and attendance. Really focused on communication with families, communication with parents, developing that school culture to where kids want to show up to class every day, so we can bump those attendance rates back up. Once the students can get the learning in, they need to learn. And 2, we want to make sure that they are comfortable showing up every day, that they want to, that they're eager to learn, because being eager is really what will drive those student outcomes. So you'll see expenditures in goal 3 towards items such as health staff, CKH training and SEL, expanded learning enrichment opportunities, parent liaisons, and then communication tools and websites. That would be goal number 3. That was a quick, brief overview of the LCAP for this year.
Yeah, according to the plans that we received, that was a very short. Okay, do we have any public comments at this time? Any members of the public who would like to comment on this item?
There are no public comments.
No public comments. Then at this point, we will close the public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Okay, board, any comments?
How many years have we had LCAP? I'm trying to,
LCAP started in 2014, so this is year 10.
this is year 10. Well, I'm certainly glad the state simplified the process and.
I think we're simplifying the process.
I was gonna say, I don't know if it's the state or if it's Mr. Elliott.
We're working on it, but it's, it makes sense. It's a good process if you really want to
Right.
dive into the data, dive into our
Yeah.
community stakeholder feedback to make sure that we're providing services, and having the document to show people what we're doing, it does really help. Does really help.
Do we have any community parents involved in this LCAP?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Every school, that's a
Yeah,
requirement.
that's a
So
requirement.
principals take the document, and
That's
this
right.
year's document will be given to next school year's school site council, to the ELAC committees, parent engagement nights, events the principals hold. They'll be sharing this document, asking for feedback, collecting survey data throughout the year. So it's a
And-
very, very community.
And that has to be shown in the document, how they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
That educational.
it's in the
partner section
document.
outlines it.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
All right.
We have no other comments. Thank you. And we will wait. We do not approve tonight, but we will be approving it. Thank you at the next board meeting.
And Madam President and Board,
Yeah.
I just want to take this opportunity to publicly affirm Mr. Elliott. He has done a phenomenal job of pulling this all together like you said, it's 9 LCAPs.
Yes.
And so he has really been the one that has worked directly with our business services and our admin staff to really make this work. And so he definitely deserves that affirmation. credit
And
for
we
doing
do
such a good
have
job.
them available for us. Thank you so much. Okay, and now with that, we are at item 9, facilities. Salva, TRUSD, Twin River School District, the North Market lease amendment. So we will have a board item to approve the North Market lease amendment as presented. Do you have something you would like to, before we?
Nothing much other than to say, board, that this item is the first amendment to extend our lease an additional 5 years for our current North Market facility. The escalation in terms of the monthly rent payment is exactly the same as our current. And we continue to look for ways that we can serve our students and families there, and they continue to grow. So this is just renewing that.
Okay. All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the North Market lease amendment as presented in your board.
So moved.
So moved, thank you. I have a second.
Second.
Second, all right. Any other discussion?
Oh, we've been there
Here.
5 years already.
Yes.
Flies.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like yesterday.
Yeah, when we first went there.
I just-
Yeah, believe it or not, yes.
Okay, no other comments or questions? Harry Block,
Yes.
Bruce Mandrick,
Yes.
Jack Turner.
Yes,
Lily Campbell, yes, the motion is approved. All right, I think that brings us down to board comments. We are almost at the end. Yes.
I attend so many graduations, I'm gonna be honest, I'm graduated out. But it was fun. It was great to see all those students and they all got up and they spoke very well.
Yes,
They all did. Everyone I went to. I was just happy to see them all.
yes.
I
Mr. Chair.
want to thank again the presenters, and I know some of you were here today. That's a lot of work, and it represents a lot of work that you do over the years, so thank you. And
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Great. And as Mr. Block said, we spent a lot of time together last week with the superintendents and the staff, going from promotions. Don't forget, we did promotions too. Kindergarten promotions, 6th grade promotions, 8th grade promotions, and then high school graduations. And as Mr. Block said, it was very well done. Accolades to all of the staff members, the principals. You guys did a yeoman's job of presenting those students, the speakers, as he mentioned. And I do want to make sure it's noted in the minutes that Dr. Peterson did all of the high school graduations as a keynote speaker. She was asked to be the keynote speaker, and she did a yeoman's job of her speech. And the thing I admire about her, she told students about her background and where she came from. And look at me now, here I am presenting to you, but for the grace, I could have been someplace else. And I really admired that she was able to share with them her own personal experiences, the high school seniors. It was very well done. And my thanks to all of you for the job that you did, the high school graduations and all of the promotions that we attended. It was a lot of work, but we did it. So thank you. Thank you for being there with us, Mr. Superintendent incoming. So thanks very much. Anything else? You got something else? What? Yeah. one more. All right, our next board meeting, I didn't get it this time.
June 20th.
June 20th, next board meeting. All right. Anything else, board members, for the good of the organization? No, nothing else? Okay, I guess I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So move.
Second.
Second, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.